What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Unique Mazik. I'm the hardest working man in sports and gaming, and it's time to talk about MLB The Show 22. Finally, we have the information that we have been waiting for, which started with the cover athlete as well as the release date. So I've kind of broken this down to the good and the bad of what we've learned so far about MLB The Show 22. Now, there are some things out there that are kind of being debated. They're more or less rumors than they are confirmed things. I'm not going to really touch on that quite yet. I'll save that for a later video. Maybe might even come the same day as this one drops. But we're going to save that a little bit. For right now, in this video, we're going to talk about only what we know. And what we do know is that the cover athlete is Shohei Ohtani, LA Angels superstar, global icon, all of that. As far as I was concerned, and I've been saying this in videos for the last few months, there really was only one choice, at least if you're talking about active players, for a guy who was going to represent or going to be the cover athlete for MLB The Show 22. I really don't see any other way that it's very difficult to make a case for anybody in the major leagues right now outside of Shohei Ohtani. So I'm very glad to see that he did actually get the cover. He was well deserving, and it makes the most sense just from a business standpoint, which you can never omit that part. It's all about the money, right? Just so happens sometimes the money lines up with actual logic as well, and this is one of those situations. The second thing that we find out is that the release date is April 5th. Which is seems like about a week later than what it has been over the past few years, but nothing too major. April 5th will work out pretty decently. Hopefully there's some actual Major League Baseball for us to enjoy, some live action baseball, but it'll also make like the show 22 better because you'll have updated rosters, assuming, and that kind of thing. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Cleveland Guardians are going to look like and all of that. So it's going to be cool. Next thing we learned is the platforms. MLB The Show 22 will be available on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Xbox One, as well as the Nintendo Switch. Now, obviously, the Switch is the big information. Here's the big news of all of the things in terms of a platform. So everybody, I'm sure Nintendo fans are probably, Nintendo fans who are also baseball fans, are probably ecstatic to see like their first true, real hardcore simulation baseball game come to the platform. Yes, you have some other titles, Super Mega and that sort of thing, but if you're talking about MLB licensed simulation style game, this is a big day, a big time for Switch owners, similar to what we saw with Xbox owners when the show came to that platform last year. Maybe not quite as big of a deal because Xbox people probably tend to be more simulation sports fans than traditional Nintendo users. But of course, I know that there's still some out there. The next big thing, as far as I'm concerned, is the inclusion of night games in Stadium Creator. Now, that has been confirmed. You only can see it actually on the PlayStation page. You kind of have to scroll down a bit, and they do confirm that in your stadiums, your created stadiums, you can now finally have night games. That was not something that was available in the first iteration of the Stadium Creator feature, which appeared in MLB The Show 21. One of the greatest features that we've seen launch on any sports video game platform, but one of the drawbacks, as I've talked about, multiple times in previous videos, is the inability to play your games at night. So that, thankfully, is seemingly going away. So those are the things that I think that are just positive, it's unmistakably, not even debatable positives about what we've learned so far about MLB The Show 22. I'm sure some other positive stuff will come out. Now let's talk about some of the negatives that we learned about. Like, that's always going to be a thing, right? First one, the biggest negative on my list, is we do not see the return of year-to-year saves. I thought the year-to-year saves was just a brilliant, fantastic, sensible option, and it was taken away last year. and I was hoping that it would come back this year. It has not. So the saves from MLB The Show 21 will not carry over to 22. I don't know if they're planning on having 22 carry over to 23. I don't know. There's a possibility that we might not ever see this feature come back again. Though I do have some kind of ideas, and I'll probably save those for another video on how that might be possible. But as of right now, there will be no year-to-year saves. Along the same lines, and still also on the negative side, your stadium creations will not carry over from 21 to 22. So all of those awesome stadiums that the community made, you're going to have to make them again if you want them. And that kind of sucks. Well, no, that doesn't kind of suck. That completely sucks. Now, will that be the case for, is this going to be grouped in with year-to-year saves? And, it's going to be as difficult to get that feature as it has been to get year-to-year saves back? I don't know. I'm hoping that's not the case. But because, people, some of the creators, it doesn't take as long to create a stadium as it does to create a custom theme roster or whatever. But it does take a lot of effort and time to create these stadiums. Trust me, I've done more than 50 of these bad boys. So I know it takes a long time, especially if you're really trying to do something dope and maybe recreate a real stadium. Unfortunately, it's not happening. You're going to have to create that bad boy again, which really, really sucks. Next thing, that's a down. I think it's a kind of a downer. It's not as bad as those first two, but it is kind of a downer. We will not be getting MLB The Show 22 on PC. I was hoping for a PC version because I knew that would unlock the entire modding community or birth the modding community around MLB The Show. And I can only imagine how many cool things that we would have been able to see if the game was on PC and people were able to mod it. It ain't happening. People are going to have to settle for the Nintendo Switch version in the essence or in the whole concept of expanding platforms. The next thing, and these things get a little bit less impacting as I go on. I am not a big Sounds of the Show person, but I know a lot of hardcore old school MLB The Show fans are. And unfortunately, you will not be able to have Sounds of the Show on PS5 or Xbox, but it will still be available on PlayStation 4. So most of the people who are kind of like really locked in to Sounds of the Show, they're probably people who came over from the PS4 anyway. So that one's not as big of a deal. But anytime there's not uniformity in the feature set, there's going to be some sort of a backlash. Speaking of a lack of uniformity in the feature set, Stadium Creator will not be available on the Switch at all. So just like last year, and this lets you know that the Switch is more considered a last gen concept, last gen console along the lines of PS4 and Xbox One. Like the PS4 and the Xbox One, the Stadium Creator is not available. So since the Switch's tech is along that same lines, they also will not have Stadium Creator. So bit of a bummer, a little bit of a bummer for anybody who, is a Nintendo fan and they were seeing all of these really cool stadiums going up on MLB The Show, and they're thinking to themselves, man, I sure would love to have that game on my console, and I'd love to be able to create stadiums. Well, unfortunately, you won't be able to deal with Stadium Creator on the Switch. So they'll have to just settle for being able to have it at least this first year. So that's all I have for you today in regards to what we learned about MLB The Show 22. Until next time, I appreciate you watching. As always, God bless and peace.